Big clash this weekend. I apologise beforehand if I sound a little nasally or a little Jason Rubin-like, because he did get me sick, but nothing will stop me from bringing you tactics, especially this top of the table clash. Yes, it is top of the table. Southampton still flying up there against Manchester City. It's going to be an exciting game. Let's talk tactics. So Manchester City came off the back of a 2-1 win against Swansea. If you watched our video, I did predict a very similar scoreline. I think that Swansea did well to put up a fight against Manchester City, and it took a goal from the old Yaya Toure, storming forward and breaking through to put them ahead and give them a much needed win, it has to be said. So let's take a quick look at the way they lined up against Swansea. It was exactly... I specifically say exactly like I said they should have went up against Swansea. They should have went back to their 4-4-2. Jovetic up there with Aguero gives a different dynamic, and he scored the goal, which got them back in the game, and then Toure to go ahead and win it. So it's definitely something that they can play around with. As you see, they bring on Lampard. I'm still adamant that if you're going to play Toure and Fernandinho, you need to have one of them understand what their role is, because when they're playing against Southampton, you need to have both of these holding midfielders here, as you see here. They both, if they're going to stem up and forward, that's great and go back, but what seems to happen is you'll get Yaya Toure caught up here, supporting the strikers. Watch it in the game and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I know for a fact I'm right, and you'll get Fernandinho up here. And this leaves this whole gap in here in which Southampton will exploit. What you get when you bring on Lampard is you usually get Yaya Toure, who'll sit back here and he'll cover this area, and then he'll interchange with Lampard, who'll come back and they'll move around this area interchangeably like centre midfielders do. But both of them, I don't think have found the dynamic, Fernandinho and Yaya Toure, yet, and that's why they're struggling a little bit. But when you get Yaya Toure forward, it shows what you can do with the goal he scored against Swansea. So the next point is that Southampton have conceded the third least amount of goals, I think, in Europe. Only before them is Juventus and I feel Barcelona. I think the graphic is it's insane. They're conceding so little goals. They are defending so well. So what Manchester City are going to have to basically fight fire with fire and play the way Manchester City used to do, and that was hold teams down and try and break them apart. Because if you look at this graphic here, the amount of goals conceded, look at that, 6 goals from Southampton compared to Manchester City's 13 of the games played this season. It's incredible. 7 clean sheets. And if you look at that there, the average amount of goals of them conceded, this is very important. Both teams conceded around the 30-minute mark of the first goal. And I think if Southampton can hold out and not concede in that first half, I think they could definitely be in for a big upset here. And I am saying upset, but it's surprising because they are sitting second in the league. And they shouldn't be classed as this underdog anymore at this point in the season. But I would still be surprised if they could keep this run of form right through. I think that if you're coming up against Manchester City and both teams are going to defend against each other and concede a little amount of goals, I think it could go 1-0 either way. But my money is going to be on Manchester City. But that's an early prediction right there. So if you look at this formation here for Southampton, they play the 4-2-3-1 that I have talked about numerous occasions for every team. They seem to all be playing this formation right now, and it's because it works if you know how to work it right. That formation right there, not to mention that Fraser Forster, former Celtic goalkeeper, is in goals for Southampton, and I'm so happy to see him do well because he was a great goalkeeper for Celtic. They have a bank of 6. Those 2 holding midfielders, if you see here, they do not move past the halfway line. If you watch, if they do move, then automatically another midfielder will come in and fill in that role. So they've always got this bank of 6. And you wonder why they only concede 6 goals. Because this is what they're so good at. They defend as a unit. They rarely overcommit in tackles, which is random because you sell Lovren, who is one of their best defenders, to Liverpool, who all he does is overcommit in tackles. But now this new Southampton that Coleman's got them, they've got them so defensively minded that they're amazing to watch. They still do well going forward, but when you see them sit at this bank of 6, it's hard to break down. Now, don't get me wrong, you can break it down, as we've seen with Aston Villa scoring against them, but it's just one thing to play against this team if you're playing with a 3 up top or something like that. But if you're going with a Manchester City 4-4-2, it is going to take some doing. It is going to take hard work to break down that bank of 6. And Southampton should be an example to all these teams who try to play this 4-2-3-1 across Europe, and show that if you're going to play that formation, you have to stick with those 6 players. When the Manchester City tried to play it, you had Toure wandering, you had Fernandinho wandering, and then before you know it, they're overcommitting the tackles, getting players sent off, and they're stuck with coming up against a team who are going to attack them with numbers of 5 or 6, and all you've got is your back 4 because players don't know how to play that formation. So Southampton, fair play to you guys, you've done a great job of holding that formation. What they do offer on attack is the same thing, is because when you have a bank of 6 right there, this allows these guys to interchange. And I love the way Southampton play up here because the left wing rarely stays in the left wing. They all interchange in a great way. And it used to be, this is the formation they stuck with when they had Lallana in there and they had Lambert, because Lambert would always be that target man up top. So they haven't changed because they sold their players. They just stick to that same structure, that same formation, and all credit to them. They're doing great up there, and they're still battling at the top of that league at this stage, where it's no longer the early stage of the season. We're coming to the halfway point, and they're doing a great job. So it's going to be an interesting game. My prediction here is going to be a 1-0 victory to Manchester City against Southampton. I would not be surprised if Southampton won the game. I'm not trying to offend any Southampton fans out there. I just think that Manchester City are going to take some confidence from that win against Swansea, and I think they'll go into it and just try and defend well as a unit, and it'll become against bank who can defend better. And I think Manchester City have got that just a little bit extra strike force up there with Sergio Aguero and Jovetic. I think it'll be a 1-0 victory. If you're watching after the game, make sure to leave your comments in the section below. Let me know what you thought of my tactical analysis, whether I was right or wrong. If you want some betting tips, just come on and ask me, because I'll be happy to provide those as well. And don't forget to subscribe to TYT Sports.